Hey everyone, welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. I am absolutely thrilled to be your host today. In this explainer, we are finally taking that distributed cache blueprint we've been staring at and bringing it to life. I mean, we're moving past the theory and getting our hands dirty with real code, real infrastructure, and real observable performance gains. So if you've ever wondered how the biggest Web3 applications on Solana serve data at just blistering speeds without completely melting their origin servers, well, you're in exactly the right place. All right, let's take a quick look at today's game plan. We've got 6 parts. 1. From design to reality. 2. Building the cache setup. 3. Beating stale data. 4. Versioning and pub/sub. 5. Measuring the impact. And 6. Key takeaways. Let's just dive right in. Okay, section 1. From design to reality. Moving from paper to code. So if you remember our last lesson, designing cache hierarchy and storage integration, we focused heavily on architectural planning, right? Deciding exactly where things live on paper. But today we are officially leaving the theoretical design phase behind us. We are doing the actual hands-on implementation. We're going to spin up an Express and Redis stack using Docker Compose, and honestly, most importantly, we're going to enforce robust data invalidation. Basically, we're turning our carefully plotted assumptions into cold, hard, observable facts. Which brings us to section 2, building the cache setup, the Docker Compose blueprint. Now, what's really cool about this setup is how elegantly simple yet incredibly powerful it is. We've got our Docker Compose blueprint here. We have API 1 and API 2, which act as our 2 distinct HTTP API nodes running cache middleware on ports 3001 and 3002. Then we've got our Redis component on port 6379, pulling double duty as both our distributed cache and our pub/sub broker. And finally, LoadGen, which is a load generator using Vegeta to just absolutely blast our APIs with traffic. This compact setup perfectly mimics the massive multi-node scale environments we study in our wider Forge College programs. It's small enough to run on your laptop, but the architecture patterns, they're completely production ready. Let's actually trace the heartbeat of this machine when a user makes a request. Step 1, the incoming request hits our Express middleware. Step 2, before doing any heavy lifting at all, the middleware checks Redis to see if we already have the answer. Step 3, if Redis doesn't have it, so a cache miss, we go read the data from our slower in-memory origin. And finally, step 4, we grab that fresh data, cache it as JSON with a time to live, or TTL, and return it to the user. Next time someone asks for that exact same data, we just stop at step 2. It is a wonderfully elegant, highly efficient loop. All right, section 3, beating stale data, the absolute villain of caching. Because here is the million-dollar problem we have to solve. What happens when Node 1 updates a piece of data, but Node 2 is still happily sitting there holding onto the old version in its cache? Think of it like a really busy restaurant, right? You have multiple chefs sharing one massive pantry, but none of them know when the ingredients have expired because they aren't talking to each other. One chef updates the menu, but the other chef is still cooking yesterday's special, and nobody wants yesterday's fish. In an API context, serving stale data is just a fast track to broken applications and incredibly frustrated users. So how do we fix it? Section 4, versioning and pub/sub, our 2-part solution. Weapon number 1 in our arsenal is the versioned key. Instead of just saving data under a basic lazy name like resource1, we use a composite cache identifier like resource1 v2. This links the data directly to a specific update generation. It's exactly like physically stamping a giant red version 2 on an engineering document. If a new draft comes out stamped version 3, nobody is going to accidentally use the old blueprint. These versioned keys completely prevent race conditions and those nasty stale reads we just talked about. And weapon number 2 is pub/sub invalidation. Pub/sub stands for publish subscribe, and this is an asynchronous messaging pattern. When an update happens, the system publishes a quick signal to a shared channel. All the other nodes, our subscribers, hear that signal and proactively delete their outdated data. Going back to our restaurant analogy for a second, this is literally like a kitchen group chat. The second an ingredient goes bad, a notification pings everyone's phone instantly, telling them to just throw it out. Let's actually put this together into a complete workflow. When a user updates data, here is the exact invalidation flow. Step 1, a post request updates a resource on API 1. Step 2, API 1 writes that update to the origin database and then instantly increments the version key in Redis. Step 3, it publishes the resource ID on our invalidate channel. And step 4, all the listening subscribers, like API 2, hear that message on the channel and immediately clear out their old version data. Boom. The old data is gone, the new version is set, and the entire system remains perfectly synchronized. Moving right along to Section 5, measuring the impact. Or, did it actually work? Because look, hope is not a strategy in software engineering, right? To prove our architecture is sound, we run 3 essential validation checkpoints. First, functional consistency across nodes. If I ask API 1 and API 2 for the same data right after an update, do they both give me the exact same fresh data? Second, invalidation propagation time. Exactly how many milliseconds does it take for that delete the old stuff message to reach all the nodes? And third, cache effectiveness. We absolutely need to look at our hit rate and our P95 tail latency to ensure the cache is actually making our API faster under real load. And here is the magic number, 500 milliseconds. For our local testing environment, that is a strong target invalidation SLO, or service level objective. That means from the exact moment an update is posted, it should take absolutely no longer than half a second for every single node in our system to drop the old data and synchronize. If it's taking longer than 500 milliseconds, our propagation latency is just too high, and we need to go back and refine our pubs up mechanics. Then, when we look at cache effectiveness, we want to see something roughly like this. After a quick 30-second warm-up period where Vegeta blasts our API with traffic, a read-heavy workload should comfortably yield a hit rate materially higher than 50%. Here, we're targeting 75% cache hits and only 25% origin reads. Let me tell you, when you hit these numbers, the load on your origin database just plummets, and your P95 latency, which measures the experience of your slowest requests, drops dramatically. The API becomes blazingly fast. Finally, let's wrap this up. Section 6, Key Takeaways, the Engineering Truths. If you remember absolutely nothing else from this explainer, remember this golden rule of distributed caching. Separate identity from freshness. By locking the resource ID away from its version number, using resource 1 v2 instead of just resource 1, we achieve completely lock-free asynchronous invalidation. You don't have to freeze your whole database just to update one record. You just bump the version number, and the system naturally heals itself, fetching the fresh data while completely bypassing the stale data. It's beautiful. Let's do a super quick recap of our technical achievements here. We used versioned keys to dodge those stale reads during updates. We combined that with Redis pub sub to get incredibly low latency and validation updates across our nodes. We learned that you must always instrument your hits, misses, and latency because, frankly, observability is never optional. And finally, we saw how easy it actually is to test complex, cross-node consistency locally using a simple Docker Compose stack. You now have the exact blueprints to build high-performance cache middleware. So I'll leave you with this provocative final thought. Now that you've got this running locally, how are you going to scale these exact caching pipelines to handle the absolute thundering herd of a massive decentralized Solana dApp? Because the fundamentals you've just mastered here are the exact building blocks used by top-tier Web3 engineering teams to keep their APIs flying under immense pressure. Don't stop here. Keep building. Make sure to head over to forge.college to dive deeper into the subject, master Web3 integration, and explore our whole library of educational resources. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and happy coding!